Thanks for joining us for Season 5 of the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders of Branded Strategic share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy. I'd like to introduce my partner, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy.
And thanks for the kind introduction, Jimmy. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. And together, we're the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work together at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, and capital. Jimmy, before we get going, because we had a great show and a great guest, we are headed to Scottsdale, Arizona, for Restaurant Leadership Conference. We are super excited about that. We had a big show at RFDC and Food on Demand in Vegas just a couple weeks ago, which was unbelievable. 4 nights in Vegas, probably 2 nights too many. But we're headed out to RLC, and we are going to be doing our podcast live, Jimmy, from RLC. We're super excited. But, Jimmy, that's not what was on my mind. What was on my mind was something more incredibly interesting. The branded marketplace. Jimmy, the branded marketplace is an incredible, incredible solution for everyone involved in hospitality should go to. Why? Because you're going to see best-in-class tech and innovation. Every solution you need to operate your restaurant is on the marketplace. Jimmy, you want to get on the marketplace? You email me at marketplace@brandedstrategic.com. We'll onboard your company within minutes. Within minutes, you'll get on there. And Jimmy, you're probably saying, Schatz, everyone can't afford all this stuff. This is so expensive.
Yeah, how expensive is
that what you're thinking?
I was thinking I have to mortgage my house. Would I have to give you my firstborn? What do I have to do to get on this marketplace?
No, and that's what's so great about the marketplace. Jimmy, it's free. It's free for operators, free for the tech companies. It's free for everyone to get on. And now, Jimmy, you're saying, well, how do we make money?
Volume.
That's right. Jimmy's the finance guy, and he said, Shatsy, don't worry. You get volume. I'll figure out how to make money. Jimmy, take us to the podcast.
We do this for love of the sport, love of the game. We'll figure it out. The long-term greedy, we'll be okay. Listen, we are very excited about today's episode, and I particularly because I'm really enjoying this emerging class, this transformation that's going on in the hospitality industry, and I'm an avid reader of what's going on up there. So I'm thrilled that our guest, Sam Oches, he's the group director of editorial at Informa's Restaurant and Food Group. That includes nation's restaurant news, restaurant hospitality, food management, and supermarket news. There is a lot going on in this space. Sam has been in this position since May when he came over from Food News Media, where he served as the editorial director for 4 years. He's been in the food service media space for 13 years. And without further introduction, Sam, welcome to the Hangout. We'll let you give us a brief, little quick background on yourself and, of course, on Informa.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Like that wonderful introduction said, I've been in the space for almost 13 years. I actually, dirty little secret, I've never worked in a restaurant. Don't tell anybody. I hope that doesn't go public. And yet,
you're like Springsteen. You're like Springsteen. It's like, don't tell anyone. I've never had a real job in my life.
That's right. I profess to be an expert in this space, but you know what? I had to earn it by being a reporter in the space for several years. Have had a lot of great opportunities come my way. I was editor-in-chief of QSR Magazine for a while, editorial director of QSR and FSR Magazine there at Food News Media for 4 years. And then this past May, I came over to Informa. We publish nation's restaurant news, supermarket news, restaurant hospitality.
That's my Bible, by the way. That's my Bible.
I like to hear that. That's good. Yeah. And so we are, obviously we have our eyes on all aspects of food and restaurants. But we're now breaking into, we have 2 podcasts that I'm on, Takeaway with Sam Oches. I have my own podcast, and also Extra Serving. We've got a lot of other properties we're building in the multimedia space as we try to serve the needs for news and insights in the food service professionals.
Sam, thanks so much. But you know what? Before we get a deeper dive into everything about nation's restaurant news, restaurant hospitality, food management, supermarket news, the podcast, everything you guys are doing, because it is an incredible time, I'd like to learn a little bit more about what makes Sam tick. How did he get in this business in the first place? You just said you were never in the restaurant space, which Jimmy and I were both bartenders, so we came out of the space. I'm still in the space, and Jimmy's been an investor in our restaurants for as long as I've been in the space. But you came out of music journalism.
That's right. Yep.
I mean, were you a musician? Did you play instruments? Give us a little backstory about how you fell into this restaurant hospitality industry that we love.
Yeah, sure thing. So
Sam, take a seat on the Shatsy sofa. And
Jimmy, this is New York City. We are the city of shrinks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Tell Shatsy how you're feeling.
Time to really open up.
And by the way, the first session is free.
Okay, great. Well, we'll see if I cry. We'll see how this goes here. But yeah, so I'm a drummer. I've been drumming since I was 12. I was a musician. And, look, when I went to college, I wanted to be a journalist. Went to Ohio University. It's got a great journalism program. And look, at that age, everybody wants to be the next, great Rolling Stone contributor. I think a lot of us either want to be Rolling Stone, or a lot of my peers in journalism school wanted to, go do Cosmo or Vogue or something like that. You have these big consumer publications you dream about going off and working for. Well, guess what? That's really hard to do. Only a few people get to do that. And so you have to pick a new path for yourself. So I had a great advisor in college who, when I was a junior in college, said, you should check out business journalism instead. I graduated into the Great Recession. So they told me, if you want to pay the bills and have a full-time job, go into business journalism. I did, and did a really wonderful internship at an architecture trade publication. And then I was the luckiest man in the world to find a job at a restaurant trade publication, which was QSR. And a week after I graduated college, I joined the team at QSR.
I love it. I wanted to grow up, become Don Mattingly or Michael Schatzberg. I ended up not becoming Don Mattingly, and there already was a Michael Schatzberg, so I became his partner instead. So,
next best thing. Next best thing you have to work
with. So there you go.
Listen, Jimmy, I've never heard anybody want to be me.
First and last.
That's for sure.
Your mom.
My kids don't even want to be me.
Your mom sent that note and said, "Oh, come on, throw him that. Give him something." All right, listen, Sam. We're late in season 5 of the Hospitality Hangout, and you are our very first guest from the media space. So with that being said, unlike other guests who have...
That's because nobody ever wants to be on our show.
So most of our guests or other guests, have sometimes a personal connection to the restaurants, the companies, but that we're working with. But as a journalist, you have this amazing 1,000-foot view of the industry. You're seeing a ton. You're constantly engaged with the voices, or really all the voices that we think are worth hearing from. Can you share with our listeners your perspective on the current state of the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think the best part of my job is the people. I think, the reason I'm the luckiest man in the world to end up in this industry, as you guys well know, is, and this is hospitality. The best part of hospitality is the people and the work you get to do and meeting new people, interesting people who have big ideas. And so for 13 years, I've had an opportunity to watch a lot of those ideas grow into some big things. I've watched a lot of ideas come and go. I've met a lot of really interesting people, some of whom were just babies, I feel like myself, when they came into this industry, and have grown into big, important voices in the industry. But, as to your question, Jimmy, where is this industry right now? This industry is right now, the word I can think of when I think about the state of the industry is its creativity. And I like to liken this back to, like I said, I got into this industry in the Great Recession. And so I watched firsthand as the fast casual industry emerged back then, out of this need to adapt to the state of things back in 2008, 2009, and 2010. And, there was an incredible amount of creativity that came in that season, which was primarily, I think, around culinary and menu. And it was this idea that fast casual was going to do something a little bit better. They're going to offer better menu offerings in a better environment. And it was all about, being better sourcing, better sustainability, and all that. And, because of the pandemic, I think what we're seeing is that same sense of creativity, but it's really more oriented around operations. And this was obviously by necessity. It was forced innovation that restaurants had to adapt or die. And I've been just blown away by the flexibility of the industry of restaurant operators to be able to ride with all the changes that have come in the past 18 months and the incredible creativity that's come out of it. And so, what's the industry that is emerging out of this season? And it's been hard. There's been plenty of hardship, plenty of challenges in the past 18 months. But what's emerging out of it is a much, much more creative and nimble industry. And I just find myself to be so lucky to be able to watch as all of these creative ideas are coming out there. And, I know that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I'm still going to be in this space, and I'll get to see how are these things growing? I was there.
We're gonna talk to you about what you think. That's one of Jimmy's famous segments. So let's not go there yet. But listen. That's incredible, and the industry is really changing. So let's talk about tech, because this is an industry that has not really embraced tech over the years. I mean, we've been in this space for a long time. Jimmy and I like to laugh about point of sale is probably our most incredible technology that we've ever had in a restaurant. You speak to an operator, tech, of course I got tech. Look at my point of sale. You get touch screen, of course I got. Look at printers, of course I got tech. I'm great with tech. But now, I mean, everyone's talking tech. Tech used to only really be available and financially feasible for really the big companies, the biggest companies, the big chains, the McDonald's of the world, et cetera. Those are the only ones who could really afford to have some of the most cutting edge, incredible tech. The other guys, it wasn't around for us. It wasn't accessible. So what does it mean now for smaller brands? With all of the creativity, as you were talking about on the brand side, on the tech side, all this creativity, all this tech that is coming out, what does it mean now for smaller brands? Can a independent owner, a small guy just starting out, one shop owner, a chef, can he roll out new tech? What kind of products can he get? What's available now for him?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the incredible thing is the pandemic has been the great equalizer when it comes to technology in the restaurant industry. Prior to the pandemic, I think a lot of restaurant brands were being dragged kicking and screaming into technology. They were watching the third-party delivery services come up and they were saying, well, I don't know, maybe I should do that, maybe I shouldn't. But I mean, the restaurant operator who got into this for the romance of it, the passion of it, like you guys maybe came up doing, working in the industry, you're not going to necessarily have a familiarity with tech or know what to do with it. And so it was sort of not always a perfect fit for this industry. But the pandemic said, it was like, well, you have to or else. And so the incredible thing about the last, these last 18, 19 months is really how much not only restaurant operators have had this willingness to say, okay, now I'm going to do delivery. Now I'm going to do digital ordering. Now I'm going to get into the virtual marketplace. But also all these tech providers out there are recognizing that, well, hey, here's an opportunity. Now that every restaurant in America basically has to be participating in the digital revolution in restaurants, there is a lot of providers out there that I think are popping up and saying, well, let me be that service for the little guy. Let me, be the company that's going to help create this, platform that is going to be tailored to the needs of your independent, your mom and pop, or your small emerging chain. And so, and they're more accessible, more affordable, and easier to understand, easier to integrate into your current systems. And so from a technology standpoint, I'm just like, this is an incredible season for those independent operators out there who hadn't been doing technology before, maybe don't even understand it fully, but they have partners in this space now that are going to bring them into it. And now that they're in at the ground floor, they can grow with it and adapt with it.
I was listening to you gentlemen speak, and Schatz, I love sayings. I like being creative in my own little coming up with isms.
Jimmy, I just got to say that your voice is so Demi Moore right now. I love it. I love this raspiness of you. I hope it never changes. I'm sorry, I had to get that out there.
Which Demi Moore? Like About Last Night Demi Moore, or
yes. And let me
Demi Moore?
Without a doubt, my favorite Demi Moore.
There you go. Okay.
The About Last Night Demi Moore with Rob Lowe. That was and I hope your voice never gets back to normal.
It'll get back to normal. I was simply going to say I'm making up a new saying today. Necessity is the mother of all invention. I think that's me. I think that's mine.
An original.
I just great that.
Coin that? Is that yours?
I don't know. It may not be. Maybe it's not mine. Maybe not. We'll see.
All right.
I'm giving it to you.
But I was hearing the necessity around this. Sam, you're talking to operators daily. And I imagine, you're probably among the first to discover some of the trends and some of the things that operators are thinking about. If you care to, if you can, what's the biggest challenge for owners at the moment that you're hearing about?
Well, the biggest challenge 100% is labor. The thing that everybody is talking about is labor. And obviously that has some correlation here with technology, which is really interesting to look at and explore, which is that, with the so-called great resignation going on, with millions of people dropping out of the workforce, restaurants are fighting for good employees. It becomes this impossible thing. And no matter what you do, you can, pay more, you can offer incentives, you can have referral bonuses, whatever you're doing for your labor right now. It's still really hard to find that solid employee that's not going to turn over in the next, even just 3 months or something like that. So labor is a huge thing. thing that is on top of mind for most operators. Of course, there's also supply chain. I think, with supply chain, it's a little bit more out of your control as a restaurant operator, whereas the labor, it's kind of like this puzzle that I think you can solve, but it's really, really difficult. But it all comes back to technology, right? Because I think this is a really interesting season to have these labor pressures that the restaurant industry is having, because there's so much technology out there that can help you run your business more efficiently. And, look, we're going to start talking a lot more about automation and robotics because of this. We were going in that direction already, but Jimmy, that wonderful phrase you've just now coined that didn't exist before, the necessity, mother of invention, it's going to be, is the truth of the matter is we're really expediting that path toward automation because of the fact that if you cannot solve this labor problem right now, and these technologies, these automation technologies are becoming more and more affordable and accessible to you, it's going to become a lot more appealing to start to adapt those into your operation so that it can help you through the labor pressures, and you can start to have a smaller team doing more with less because of the fact that technology is going to do that for you.
Let's continue talking about tech, and let's continue picking your brain, because you are one of the smartest guests we've ever had. You, as Jimmy said, you are the media guy. We've never had media people on. I don't think they've ever wanted to come on because they're, I don't know. I think that I can't answer that, but we're super excited. I think you're going to start a whole trend, but let's keep talking about this. You talk about labor and tech. Is there some tech out there that you are looking at or that you're seeing that can help operators on the labor side? Is there some tech out there that you're like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. This is what I'm seeing. This is where we're going. And anything for the big guy and for the little guy?
Yeah, one of the things is, again, not having been in the operation firsthand, it's hard for me to know exactly what some of these things look like. But I mean, when you get into some of these, back office platforms, the kind of the stuff that is incredibly helpful to the restaurant operator without being super flashy and without having that much, sex appeal when it comes to the media. But some of those back office solutions that are helping operators be able to put everything into sort of one system, run all of their, sourcing, run all of their management with labor and all that. I mean, being able to do that in one spot is incredibly helpful, because you can just start to consolidate all of the things you have to do to keep the restaurant humming along. And so again, when it comes to something that is maybe seemingly a little bit more boring, I don't know if boring is the right word, but it doesn't have that same sex appeal.
Hey, it's not sexy, man. I get it. Front of the house stuff is sexy.
Right. And if you want to talk about sex appeal, get into talking about automated, drone delivery.
I just talk about Jimmy. When we talk about sex appeal, Jimmy comes to my mind.
That's right. It's that kind of podcast we're getting into now, huh? So, we talk about, drone delivery and, automated cars, driverless cars that are going to be doing delivery and things like that. That's what, when you talk about automation, I think that's the stuff that really is going to be the headline, but it's the stuff in the back of the house that's going to be actually, I think, helping you to make your business a lot more efficient and be able to pull people out of certain responsibilities and that you don't have to do anymore because it's automated and because it's, managed by, one digital system. And I don't think that means, I think, talking about how I am having lots of conversations with restaurant operators, whenever I bring this up, I think a lot of them are quick to point out, we're not out here to replace restaurant employees necessarily, but you can redeploy your employees. And so you can pull them from something that, may have been menial before that now AI can do, and you can put them in the front of the house and you can really ratchet up your hospitality quotient. So something like that is, everybody's going to have to take a look at their labor deployment and figure out who's the best fit for where, and how is technology ultimately going to complement it, not necessarily replace it.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that. Jimmy, I like what he just said.
I like it. By the way, Schatz, you think before the end of this podcast, we can get Sam to be the media guy? We got a restaurant guy. We got a finance guy. We can get another media guy. All right, we'll talk about it. Listen, I want to focus. I want to focus on your role at Informa. You've shared with us previously that it's your goal to build a media platform for emerging concepts, what the future looks like, who's going to be the voice of the future, the future restaurateurs. Can you share a little more about this?
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, having come up at the advent of fast casual, and at the time I was with QSR magazine, so fast casual was a huge part of our coverage. Sometime around the, I'd say 2012, 13, 14, I started to realize that a lot of the entrepreneurs leading the fast casual revolution were a lot like me. They were about my age. They, they were very similar in mindset to me. And I started to be able to relate to some of these people a lot more. And so one of the things we started doing at QSR is we started doing, just networking receptions with restaurant professionals, getting around the country and engaging with these fast casual professionals in particular, because we realized, well, hey, there's this whole new population of entrepreneurs, most of them millennials, who are coming up in the space, have big ideas, and are really going to reinvent what the restaurant industry looks like. So, middle of the last decade, I just got really interested in that. And I got really interested in this idea of building a community of younger, yes, but not necessarily about age, just really entrepreneurial people who are coming up and who are starting these restaurant brands that are changing the conversation. The very easy one to throw out there as an example is Sweetgreen. Been around since 2007. And, for the last 10 years, we've been talking about them as the next Chipotle or Shake Shack or something like that. But Sweetgreen being a great example because those three founders are, young guys, big ideas, bringing that millennial energy into a restaurant company that is now worth $1 gazillion because of their IPO. So
can I quote you on that? Can I quote you on the gazillion? Jimmy, you're a finance guy. $1 gazillion. That's a lot.
Yeah. What are they trading at today? Is that about $1 gazillion a share or something like that?
That's definitely a Schatzberg number. Gazillion. Absolutely.
That's like Jimmy. You got a restaurant guy and a media guy. That's why you're the finance guy.
You can edit it after the fact. But the fact is like, we want to kind of capture that energy that was coming up in the restaurant industry. So I did a lot of that with QSR. Now I'm, hoping to tap into that with NRN too, which is to recognize that, these emerging concepts are bringing a lot of big ideas to the table. And I think we're kind of past the day and age where we're going to have 5,000 unit, 10,000 unit chains anymore. Anymore this industry, because of the sheer competition and the difficulties in scaling a business to that size, we're just going to have a lot more of these smaller emerging concepts that will be okay with 20, 50, 100 locations, and they can still change the conversation in the restaurant industry that way. So yeah, a big passion of mine is just tapping into the leaders of these businesses, no matter how big they are, even if they're an independent, because honestly, a lot of times they tell me, I had no idea magazines exist in this industry. And so I just want to get some FaceTime with them and say, hey, get to know my publication, get to know what I'm all about, because what we're going to do is help plug you into the rest of the industry so you can get the context for what the restaurant industry is all about. And you can start to build that community around you that's going to help to carry your business to success. And so that's where a lot of my passion is. And so that's a lot of what's going to be driving NRN going forward.
I love it. So let's just keep going with that. So what are the goals? What is next for Nation's Restaurant News, which is, it's the Bible of the business, restaurant hospitality, and of course, food management and supermarket news. Jimmy loves supermarket news. That's his favorite. All kidding aside, he loves that magazine. Nation's Restaurant News. What's the future? What is it? What is the goals for 2021 and heading into 22?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the goal, my team and I talk about this a lot now, which is to become the media source for the future restaurant professional. So no matter whatever ways we can do that, we want to be the voice of the industry of the future. And NRN's been around for a really long time. This is a really iconic legacy media brand.
How long has it been around?
Oh, don't quote me on that, because I keep telling people 100 years.
Is it a gazillion? It's a gazillion years?
A gazillion years.
It's a gazillion years.
I got to tell you, I keep telling people 100 years, but I honestly, I don't know. I need to find that out.
I'm telling you, I think it is over 100 years. I remember it was like an anniversary. I'm telling you.
I think you might be right. And I have that sense. It did not come up in the interview process, thankfully, because I maybe wouldn't be here with you today if I had failed that test. But look, it's been around forever. And, we need to dust it off a little bit. The team before I got here was already working on that. So all credit to them. But I'm very honored to be a part of this now, where we can take this iconic media brand and we can really build it up even further with these young people coming into the restaurant industry who are looking for resources. Because again, they don't always know that those resources exist. But so a lot of the things we're talking about are, certainly diversity. How do we bring more women and people of color into the conversation in the restaurant industry? Because honestly, it's a matter of platform. It's a matter of making sure they have access to the platform, that their voice can be heard. not everybody can afford a publicist. A publicist is the primary way I engage with the restaurant industry. And so if you can't afford a publicist, it's hard to get your voice out there. Our goal is to get the voice of those people who deserve to be heard into the pages of NRN and Restaurant Hospitality, because, every good idea deserves to be heard. And so if we can continue to push into that and become the media resource for the future restaurant professional, I'd love, just to be able to grow with them and to be able to say, I remember this business when. And so, that's my big goal. And that means multimedia. That means podcast, video. Clearly, we continue to have a monthly print product. We have our daily newsletter where we're continuing to churn out all the content online, but pushing into new media and figuring out what is the right way to tell the story of the restaurant industry.
Love it. Love it.
Sam, thank you for all that. And it's really awesome and excited to see what you and your crew, continue to bring to the market. And by the way, it's for that dig Shatz about my supermarket news. I love reading everything about this industry. I come from the financial markets. I used to read all the...
But I wasn't kidding. Right now, to me, supermarkets are one of the most exciting space ever. They're doing all the ghost kitchens, Kroger's, Albertsons. I mean, I wasn't kidding around.
I understand that, but I want to make sure our listeners know I really do think that is a target-rich environment. And when I was in the financial markets, I read all the rags. And the word rags, it's not nefarious. It's not negative. It's the stuff that's in the weeds. It's the stuff that the real insiders are looking at. That's why I really enjoy your publications. But okay, let's move on. We created the podcast because Shatz and I, basically we need something to do on any given afternoon. No, we created it because we like talking to people. We like bringing guests on. We like sharing insights with our listeners. We learned along the way that sometimes our guests have questions for us. So with that in mind, we created Talking Back. We offer our guests a chance to ask us questions. So Sam, the microphone is yours and nothing's off the table.
This is fascinating to me. So one of the things I talk a lot about with folks is, do you consider yourselves media? Now that you're doing this podcast, do you consider yourselves media?
I'm happy to answer that question, but I'll defer to my extraordinary partner, who is really the vision, the face of this company. Shatz, you want to jump on this?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I love doing a podcast. Never did it before. I definitely do not consider us I don't consider us media company, media anything. This is just a great platform for us to tell everybody about what the things that are exciting about the industry that we love. I mean, I am a restaurant guy. We own and operate. We opened 2 during the pandemic. We're opening up. We just signed a new lease here in Manhattan. We're super excited about. So I am a restaurant guy first and foremost, 100%. And we just love doing the podcast. So the answer to that is no. I do not consider us media in any way, shape, or form. Jimmy's gonna have a better answer. Let me hear it, Jimbo.
No. The chance of me having a better answer, Shatzy, is absolutely right.
100%.
No, but I will agree with Shatzy. We have a restaurant guy on this podcast. You got a finance guy on this podcast. I know sometimes looking at Branded's website or some of our collateral, I joke it's like trying to take a sip of water out of a fire hose, because we do a lot of things. We have our podcast, we throw events, we love producing thought leadership. At the end of the day, Branded does 2 things. We own and operate restaurants, and we like to invest in tech and innovation that's good for restaurants. Our entire thesis is built around the operators, and really the idea that we could help improve the margins of this business. So the things that we do that are not about investing and not about owning and operating our stores, it's only because it helps us build and increase the community, which allows us to effectuate our goal of identifying, vetting, validating, and investing in really good companies. That's it. We wouldn't do the podcast if it didn't help us get our message out that this is an industry worth exploring, and that gentlemen like you should be listened to, because you are writing about and giving really amazing intel and insights about an industry that is transforming. An industry that represents upwards of 15+% of the employment opportunities in this country, but is being transformed in real time. So we are not a media company. Although if anyone wants to hire me for media, you can email my Gmail account at blah 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 blah. Okay.
I was gonna say, contact my agent.
Contact my agent.
CAA will happy to book me.
Kidding me? I'm making Sam Oches my agent, man. Right now he's my agent.
Yeah.
Well, I find that interesting because there's traditional media like our organization and where I came from, and there's others out there. But I just find it interesting because with podcasts, with blogs, with everything out there, anybody can be media these days. And so I'm just always interested to know, like, who am I considering a competitor versus who is just out there to tell a good story? And I'm happy to be friends with.
Yeah, I got to tell you, if we are a competition, and there's really something wrong with Informa, because the bar is really low. Yeah, no, definitely not competition. But we're having a great time, and we're enjoying having a fantastic guest. Jimmy, let's go to your segment, the second best segment of the whole podcast.
Yes, we 100 people surveyed, and all of them agreed this was the second best segment of the podcast. It's our crystal ball moment. We give our guests a chance to put on their Kreskin or Miss Cleo hat and predict the future. How do you see restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to the hospitality and in relation to hospitality and technology?
Yeah, I mean, look, with technology in particular, the virtual marketplace is going to continue to be more and more important. And I'm not just talking about virtual brands. I'm just talking about positioning your brand within the virtual marketplace to be part of the consideration set for the everyday consumer. That's going to continue to be more and more important for restaurants. But I think to really answer your question, what I think we're going to see the trend toward is a continued bifurcation of dining toward convenience dining and experiential dining. I think dine-in business is going to come back in full force. We're already seeing it with a lot of the casual brands are just making money hand over fist right now, even over 2019. Mm-hmm. It's because everybody's eager to get back into restaurants. And so I think what that's going to push is it's going to push a lot more focus onto how do we create a great experience in this tech forward age. People do still want a great experience. So there will be an opportunity for people to, for brands to win in that regard. But, especially with QSR fast casual, it's going to really break off more toward convenience dining. So how accessible are you? How much friction have you taken out of that experience of I want food now to the point of I get my food? And, you're going to see that split. And in both sides, technology is going to play a huge role because obviously technology plays a huge role for that convenience orientation. But even in the experiential dining, all the restaurants I've been to recently have had the QR code ordering process. I love that. I think that's an incredible, it's such a simple innovation. We had QR codes 10 years ago, but now this ability to run your whole restaurant experience through that QR code, leave your tab open. I mean, think about that at bars. I was at a brewery recently where they had that. I'm like, I don't have to get the attention of the bartender. I can sit here and do everything from my phone. That's incredible. And that's going to have a huge impact on the experiential dining side of things and those casual brands, especially table service brands. And so that's what I see in 2 years from now. I think we're going to continue to push into those two sides of the industry, and on both sides, technology is going to run the whole thing.
Jimmy, I love this guy. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. We love it. I can't tell you how much we've been loving the QR codes and order by your phone long before the pandemic. It's just, I know what I want. I want wings. I want a beer. I don't need any help. Just let me order it, man.
Yep.
We were into self-pouring technology. We love it. I agree 100%. We subscribe to the idea that, we love the idea that there's just a lot of options. You want to use your phone, use your phone. You want to sit down and have a waiter, sit down and have a waiter. You want to pour your own beer, pour your own beer. You want someone to pour it for you? A lot of options. We love it.
Yep.
You want to make your own pizza? Make a pizza. You want to go back and make eggs, right, Jeff?
Yeah, but don't put cucumbers on the pizza, right, Jimmy? No cucumbers. I want to sit down at a table, and I want them to come up to me and just bring me the food before I even get there that they know I want because they've got some algorithm figured out. They know what Schatzy wants to eat for dinner, and I just sit down, they bring me salmon. That's what I'm waiting for.
There
Jimmy.
you go.
You know what I mean? Anyway, listen, I love it. We're going to get you back in 2 years because we're going to find out exactly. And I bet you're right. I know you're right. But okay, let's go to Branded Quickfire. This is where I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. It's the best segment of the show. This is not me talking. This is just thousands and thousands of people say they love it so much. This is the best segment. Schatz, you should bring this to, reality TV or something like that. But are you ready? 5 questions. Here we go.
Let's do
Sam,
it. Yep.
If you were to pick any band or singer, dead or alive, to perform at your next birthday, who would it be?
Led Zeppelin, but when John Bonham was alive.
Aha. You see that? Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
My wife's wonderful home cooking. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, so we don't get out too much. But if I were to go out tonight, I would actually pick up from a place called East Cut Sandwich Bar in Durham, North Carolina. It's my favorite local restaurant, and it's perfect for takeout.
Nice.
I'm getting hungry just thinking about that. What's your favorite food city in the world?
I got to say Chicago because, look, I love New York. I love LA. I love Austin as far as food, all those places. But Chicago is dear to my heart as the first place I lived outside of my hometown. And I think the thing about Chicago dining is that it has an identity that is not tied to trends. And it just is such a rich food personality. And as a Midwesterner myself, I really identify with that.
And I got to tell you, they're really nice in Chicago.
Oh, yes.
Where is your favorite place to travel?
So for vacation, I'm going to say Asheville, North Carolina. I live in North Carolina, a few hours away from Asheville, which is a great city. But if it's just to unwind, my hometown of Athens, Ohio, which is this lovely little utopia in Southeast Ohio where I can just unplug. And my parents live on 25 acres and I could just go there.
I am going to say that is the first time in the podcast we had either one of those cities mentioned.
There we go.
But that is great. I love it. All right. If you were to challenge Jimmy or I to a game of skee ball, who would you have the better odds of beating?
Oh,
Jimmy, take off your shirt and flex.
I mean, I feel like if Jimmy's a finance guy, it's got to be him, right? I don't know. Shatsy, you're probably, you feel dangerous in any kind of game.
So is it Jimmy or Shatsy?
It's going to be Jimmy. If I'm beating, who am I beating? It's got to be Jimmy.
All right.
Look at that, Jimbo, huh?
Shatsy, I think you won that one.
No, but skee ball is my kind of game. It's not really a sport.
Here's the thing. Here's the
beer
thing.
in one hand, you throw the ball.
You're both gonna beat me though. If you gun to my head, I had to pick sure, but you're both gonna beat me because I'm no good at skee ball.
So, by the way, Shatsy, we're going to RLC, and we're going to find skee ball because Sam just actually made this a challenge between you and I. I think I will kick your mother in skee ball.
We got to find skee ball. You got pickleball challenge. We got skee ball. What else? I think you made a challenge with someone else about something. I know we got some golf challenges.
I think you're developing a concept here.
You and Sterling have
we got a lot of challenges going on.
Big golf outing coming. Big golf outing
concept.
I got to tell you, we're doing no business at RLC. All we're doing is sports challenges.
Yeah,
film it. It's content.
By the way, let's bring on a special guest. What? Wait. Oh, sorry, Sterling. My producer.
Sterling is not here, Jimmy.
We're out of time, Sterling.
We're out of time. I'm sorry, Sterling Douglas.
Can't bring you on the show. Listen, in all seriousness, Sam, we want to thank you so much for joining us on the Hospitality Hangout. We appreciate you sharing really some great insights, and we also appreciate the hard work that you and your crew are doing to support the industry and really promote a lot of the highlight a lot of the things going on in this incredibly transformational period. To our listeners, if you want to get in touch with Sam directly, you can email us at podcast@brandedstrategic.com, and we'd be happy to make the introduction for you. To our listeners, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. We know there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and you choose to hang out with us is something that we really appreciate and value. Please join us next week as we welcome our guest and friend, Mr. David Ralston, President and CEO of Hatco.
We're getting into some equipment stuff, manufacturing, Jimbo. This is the nuts and bolts.
I'm telling you, Sam was teasing it. Automation. We're going to address labor not by dealing with wages, but dealing with how to balance labor, human capital with automation. We think Dave Ralston will be a great guest coming up next week. You're not going to want to miss it. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any exciting guests coming up. And better yet, invite a friend to hang out with us the next time. So until then, a big thank you to Sam for all his great insights. And this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, signing off and passing it back to my boy Shatsy.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to Sam. Sam, thanks for coming on. And Sam, just for all those listeners to check out some of your great content. What's the URL we can go to get some great information?
Well, definitely go to nrn.com for Nation's Restaurant News content. Also, I would say subscribe to our podcasts, Extra Serving and Takeaway with Sam Oches.
Wait a minute. A competing podcast? All our listeners, disregard that one. NRN.com, you can go to listening to Sam. Are you crazy?
For more.
I'm just kidding. Listen to Sam. He's great. He's got a voice for radio, that's for sure. And NRN.com for all you listening. Let me tell you, they are loaded with content. Everything you need to know about the business, it's there. This is Shatsy, a.k.a. the restaurant guy, signing you off. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, all our listeners. Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys. That was great.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.